Hello, Out Entrepreneurs. Rhodes Perry here, and welcome to episode number 33 of The Out Entrepreneur, a weekly podcast where I get to interview today's most inspiring LGBTQ bosses crushing it in business. On today's show, we have Thommy Sandvick calling all the way from Orlando, Florida. So Thommy, are you ready to inspire fellow out bosses?
I am.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Thommy. So a little bit about Thommy. He is a serial entrepreneur with two core beliefs. The first, go to school, get a job, and retire. It just doesn't work. And the second is all humans have greatness and the ability to do what they love. And by combining these two principles, Thommy focuses on transforming network marketers from pushy, desperate recruiters into magnetic, confident people you actually want to work with and do business with. So I love that. And I'm fascinated in learning more about just the whole field of network marketing. So Thommy, thanks again for being on the show. To kick us off, tell us a little bit more about your business and what makes it unique.
Yeah, sure. So it really stems from the idea that network marketing, as it's traditionally defined, so most people think of multi-level marketing and network marketing as kind of being the same thing. And so it's the idea that the reason for the big problem in the industry is that people don't approach it as marketing to their network. So what it really comes down to is anybody who has a product or service who wants to sell that to somebody, to their network, is a network marketer. And so the idea is people join up with companies or even form their own business, but they're terrified to talk to people, first of all. And if they do, they're just not comfortable doing it. And so my focus is to help people through the mental blocks that kind of cause people to just not come across the right way when they're talking to people. And that can lead all the way into the plague of the network marketing industry, which is that people get started, they call everybody they know, hey, do you keep your options open kind of concept. And that stuff just doesn't work. People see through that, even though the business model in and of itself is fantastic. So I'm really out to change the way of being of people so that they become magnetic and they focus on expanding their network and being interested instead of interesting, and just attracting people to them who want to do business with them instead of pushing everybody away and then claiming the industry is a scam.
I love everything that you just said, and I learned something new, and that I am a network marketer because I have products and services that I'm selling. So everyone who's listening to the show, listen very closely to some of the things that Thommy brings up. And I like that you're talking about expanding networks, right? And being a person of interest, and I mean that without an audience, it's going to be really hard to sell your products or services. So, trying to find the right people. So there's a lot to network marketing right now in your business. What has you most inspired today?
I am just super excited because my network has grown. As I've honed in on this message and started to put myself out there and be, as a good friend would say, unapologetic about my belief in the business model and the belief that go to school, get a job doesn't work, just those two core beliefs, that it has really created this attraction of people to me, and things are just starting to absolutely blow up. So I have clients now that I'm helping, which is fantastic. And so I'm just have all this momentum going, and it's really fun. It's a fun ride. One that, although I've done many businesses before, I've never felt this way about something that I've done. And I think that's because it's something I'm truly passionate about, which is really about personal development and then putting that into the network marketing concept.
And you were talking about you've had several businesses before, and I'm curious to go back to the start of your entrepreneurship journey, because you identify as a serial entrepreneur, and I know there's a lot of people who listen to the show and who've been on the show who identify in that same way. When you first got started, what was your primary motivator? And usually when I'm interviewing guests, there's typically one of two reasons. And the first is that someone has felt a really strong calling, or they have a purpose, to build this business. And The second is for folks that have been in a workplace, they've been an employee, they can no longer conform to a workplace culture that just doesn't get them, it doesn't value who they are. And I'm curious, Thommy, which one of these motivators resonates with you the most, and why?
Well, I've really been an entrepreneur all my life, and I think it was just always wanting something a little extra. So I was really chasing the money. But most recently, with this business in particular, coaching network marketers, what happened is I had been going back a couple of years. I was in corporate America, and we were bought out. I was in IT, and we were bought out, and they were going to lay me off. So I said, "Screw you guys," and quit, and went off, did my own thing. And I ended up coming back as a contractor. Fast forward a couple of years, my role with them grew back into a full-time position. And then last year, they were like, we're going to eliminate your position again. And I was like, wait a minute. This is the second time from the same company. I am sick and tired of it. So it was really the pain of just being out of control of my own destiny, being a slave to corporate America and some budget room decision, not based in any practicality for the business, pushed me into going to a seminar, actually. And in that seminar, I was actually being sold a course. And the guy said, some of you may want this job. In other words, training, personal development. And he said, this course is the first step to that. And I had this just huge, even now it's hard for me to talk about. I had this huge emotional reaction. And I knew in that moment that that's what I'm called to do, to go out, to inspire people, to become better, to get out of corporate America, to love every minute of their life. And so I started down this journey, and it's been just a crazy, crazy year. But that was really the moment that did it. It was, that's when I just knew. And it was a feeling. I didn't go into that seminar being like, yeah, I'm going to come out of here wanting to train personal development. It wasn't even on my radar. And then I just had that feeling, and I said, this is it. This is it. This is what I want to do.
When that moment happens and it becomes so crystal clear, you have to just kind of trust your gut and follow your heart. Mm-hmm. And I really liked kind of what you were talking about when you were in a corporate environment. You're sitting there, you're performing really well. You're in a lot of ways, you're building other people's dreams. I think sometimes, and I've heard this from guests and feedback from listeners, is that as you're in kind of a corporate space or when you're an employee working for someone else, there is this illusion of job security, right? Like, I have a good job, yeah. I'm working, I'm going to get my pension, if that exists anymore, right? And really, like you said, there's often the budget decisions every year. Like, okay, we're going to look at payroll and we're going to try to cut corners. And no matter your commitment, unless you're the owner of that business, you're vulnerable, right? And expendable sometimes. And that's really unfortunate, especially when you're working so hard as you described. Workplace culture really does matter. And, outside of podcasting, that's the world that I'm in. I'm helping businesses create more inclusive cultures. So I want to shift gears a bit. The show is called The Out Entrepreneur. And I want to talk more about your own LGBT identity, and specifically, thinking about where you fall within the rainbow family and how you identify. Did your personal experience of coming out influence your journey to becoming your own boss? And again, you've been in the world of entrepreneurship probably since you began,
going back to the
as an adult. Stuff, no, yeah. But yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about how being within the rainbow family influenced that journey?
Yeah, definitely. So I think when I look back on my life, and specifically the time period where I was going through sort of the coming out period, I was actually a really pretty shy person in high school. That certainly comes as a shock to people who know me well. But I was the guy that didn't even go to prom. I was in the corner. If I did go to a dance, I was definitely not just that outgoing. And that's because I wasn't being who I really was. I was suppressing it. And then when I take a look, I really made some big, bold decisions in my life. One of them was to go off and march Drum and Bugle Corps, where I actually came out within the Corps just so I could come out in a safe environment. I just knew that that was going to be a safe spot. And then that same year, I actually ended up coming to work for Disney as an intern. And that is when I came out to my parents. And the big thing behind that is that when I was here at Disney and I actually wrote an email, came out to my parents in an email. When I wrote that email, I didn't really know how I was going to be perceived. And so I was ready to leave it all behind. I was ready. If I got completely shunned from my family, I had Disney that I loved. I had a place to live. I had a job. I was going to just make it on my own. And I think that ultimately transferred into business because to be an entrepreneur, truly, you really can't dabble. You have to go all in, ready to burn everything, leave it all behind. And this year, 2017, I have definitely put everything I have into doing what I'm doing, into building this business. I think that that's the connection, is because I was so bold in making those decisions, ready to leave it all behind for my identity to come out. And the same thing has happened with the business, being willing to just go 2 feet forward and be who I am and own that I'm an entrepreneur. You know, it's hard sometimes. There's pressures from other people in my life to conform, to get the job. And I'm just saying, no, that's not me. I'm never going to be satisfied working in middle-class corporate America. That's not me. Just like hiding me wasn't me in high school. So I think that's a big connection.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And I think you might be the first guest to really make that very overt connection of the process of coming out and using that as an analogy of being an entrepreneur too, right? Like you're talking about getting past the fear. Well, one, just being in a safe space of supportive folks, right? Getting past the fear, taking that risk, going all in, as you said, taking that big, bold move and believing in yourself. And I mean, both scenarios, I think the folks who listen to the show who are LGBT, obviously, you know the coming out journey. If you haven't yet taken the entrepreneurial leap, so much of that journey can be applied to entrepreneurship. So thank you for sharing that great analogy. Take us back to a time, you've been an entrepreneur for quite some time. So take us back to a moment where, despite being bold, despite being out, there was something in the back of your mind that may have questioned, like, oh, I don't know what this client, how out I should be. Because you were either, it could have been around safety, largely it could have been around, is this going to affect my bottom line? Can you think of a specific example that comes to mind? And can you share how you worked around that to make it a beneficial, like there's a positive end to the story?
Yeah, there's really only one scenario, one time I can think of where that happened. And it was, so I'm a Legal Shield agent, and I was, I don't know, at some kind of gathering at like a bar and grill. And there was someone that I was talking to about the product, and he made a very anti-gay statement. And I kind of had to just take a step back and say to myself, and this is within the last 5 years, what is my policy about doing business with people who might be very much against who I am as a person? I really took the mindset from that I would talk to him. If he was interested, I would just refer him to another agent and actually give up that sale, because I just didn't want to have the interaction with people who, look, when people sign up for any product or service, it's because they like, know, and trust you. And if I'm not being authentic in me, I feel like that can potentially hurt the relationship later on, or it can end badly, and then you have bad word of mouth and all kinds of other problems. So it was a lot easier for me to just say, continue the conversation, and then if he was interested, just refer him to another agent. And that agent could have been someone just on my team. It's just that he wasn't my direct customer. So I've kind of followed that same general philosophy, if you're not okay with it, which I don't really come across that very much anymore, but again, that might be because of where I live and the people that I surround myself with, but that's fine, but I'm not really interested in doing business with you if it comes up. If it doesn't and I don't know, then so be it. But that's kind of what I took away from it.
I think that's a great takeaway. You were talking about just someone says something that's anti-LGBT, it causes pause, especially if they're a potential client or customer, and really digging in deep and reflecting on or considering what is that policy. You know, if someone is not going to be accepting of obviously LGBT communities, but of yourself, you know, your core identity, how do you proceed? And I really liked before you made a decision of if I'm going to work with this person or not, just being brave enough to have that one-on-one conversation. Because something that I talk about a lot on this show is those one-on-one conversations. That's what changes hearts and minds, not the statistics, not all of the research. It's really like who you are. And like what you said, like, know, and trust. I mean, clearly this person trusted you enough to share their true opinions, you know, and you had that platform to really move them. And you came to the ultimate conclusion of like, you know what, this person isn't for me. It's not my ideal client. And you still put them in touch with the right people to help them out with their pain points. So really, really great advice. You know, this show is all about empowerment and really trying to amplify the benefits of being LGBT. You know, I talk about being shaped by the fire, you know, like we're formed by our experiences and sometimes not the not so great ones, like what you just shared. Can you think about some of the strengths that LGBT folks bring to the world of entrepreneurship or even, you know, working in a business? Are there a few things that come to mind for you, just kind of thinking about your own experiences?
Yeah, I think there's a tremendous amount of loyalty to each other, first of all, and to people who treat you right. I think as a community, we're very loyal to anyone who supports us, and we bring that to each other in business. And I think it's fun. I think we're just fun. You know, for example, I live in an area where there are basically 3 chambers I can join. And I could only pick one of them because they're all expensive. So I went to multiple events with the 3 different ones, and I settled on the LGBT chamber, even though I have to travel further to go to their events simply because they're fun people. So I love that about it. So that's what I see is a lot of loyalty and a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think you definitely hit on that. And there's enough statistics to talk about the loyalty that comes with treating LGBT people right. Because for many of us, you know, the experiences haven't been so great. So when you do have a company or a work environment where it's not just kind of, hey, you're okay. It's like, we actively want you to be a part of the team. It's like, okay, then I'm giving 175%. Like it's there. And also, you know, the sense of humor that comes along with kind of navigating a world that doesn't quite get all of us, you know, you just have to laugh at it sometimes. So I think that really great strengths that you brought up there. Considering the challenges and also the blessings of being someone who is out, you know, as an entrepreneur, what do you want our listeners to really focus in on and make sure they take away, really to inspire them just to be authentic, either in their businesses or in their day jobs?
I think it's really just, it's never too late. If you're not out, it's never too late to go through that journey, to tap into the support and make that change, because it changes you not just in one area of your life, but really truly every area. I see people in the corporate world who are fun, fantastic people who light up when they are themselves, but then are drawn into this very dark space when they're not. And so I say, yeah, just tap into the resources, find some personal development, right, to help with that. There's plenty of books to help with the barriers there, and be bold and take that step. Because I think clearly the people on this show, the interviews you've done, show that when you do it, there's amazing things on the other side.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just that it's scary when it feels like you're jumping off a cliff, or what it feels like, and you're not sure if there is another side. So I've certainly been there, and I'm sure you have as well. At least just kind of reflecting on the process of coming out. So Thommy, thank you so much. Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to go to a very short sponsorship break. And for our listeners, please don't go anywhere, because when we return, we're going to jump into our bonus round.
HR and diversity professionals. Are you struggling with engaging LGBTQ talent? Do you stay awake at night worrying about limiting litigation risks? Have you considered seeking support around these concerns, but just aren't sure where to turn? Look no further. Rhodes Perry Consulting offers you solutions with the Engaging LGBTQ Talent A to Z certification. This proven 4-week mentorship program delivers skills, offers support, and connects you with other professionals committed to transforming themselves and their workplaces. Learn more about this cutting-edge program by visiting rhodesperry.com and use the promo code RPC for a 10% discount. Take action and visit rhodesperry.com.
Welcome back, Outbosses. We are now going into our bonus round, where we'll have the chance to get to know Thommy just a little bit better, gain some insights on how we can bring our whole selves to work, and then learn one way that we can stay in touch with Thommy after today's conversation. Okay, so are you ready, Thommy? These are the quick fire questions.
I'm ready.
Okay, I like that. In one sentence, what does it mean to bring your whole self to work?
Be yourself. Just be yourself. Don't hold back.
Yeah, I think that's really, really great advice, and simple, right? Just don't overcomplicate it, right?
That's really the core, yeah.
Yeah. And what's one personal habit that helps you master yourself and your business?
So I just recently started doing the Miracle Morning routine, and that has been an absolute game changer. My challenge has been going between business and work, and that mentally could be very difficult. And so the Miracle Morning routine, doing daily affirmations, has been just absolutely huge. So right now, that is definitely my biggest secret to making sure, like, every morning, by the time I'm done with my routine, I am on fire and ready to take on the world.
Yeah. When I learned about the Miracle Morning, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. And I've been doing that for the past year, and it really has been transformative in just kind of how I think about my day, and how I can be gentle with myself and also pretty aggressive with goals. And that's great advice. So name one thing that you readily delegate in your business to stay focused on what you're good at.
At the moment, not a whole lot. It's been pretty much a one-man band, but I am very close. Actually, my husband's going to be helping me with my theme days in my Facebook group. So I would have to say, as I hear many people say, social media, just, having that consistent engagement, social media. Yeah,
I think that's for any possible advertisers out there. It's like social media usually comes up for delegation, and also the books. And I can say, like, when you're on a small team, that's me, solopreneurs out there. There are ways to delegate things, and it's usually just thinking about those apps and those kind of online systems. Like, the more you can automate, the easier your life will be, and just kind of taking that business vision and keep building on it and keep scaling until you can bring on people, and then you can truly start delegating, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So can you share a book or a podcast that has contributed to your success as an entrepreneur?
There are so many. I have to say Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, because that book led me to the Millionaire Mind Intensive, where I had this is what I want to do with the rest of my life moment. So it's definitely got to be that.
Yeah, I think books like that, what you're talking about, can really help to shift mindset and help people really embrace the idea, beyond being an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, and you're building equity, you're owning something, and like, in the mindset, like, that's a huge component of it, is just kind of shifting out of how we've been programmed for many of us as just being employees, to then, like, okay, you are the boss. And so how do you want to build your business? So Thommy, can you share one piece of advice to inspire the next generation of outbosses to take that first entrepreneurial leap?
Oh gosh. I would say surround yourself. The first step is surround yourself with other entrepreneurs. For someone who's just getting started and wants to go down that road, that is the most important first step, I think, because having that support around you when you initially get started will give you the resources, the ideas, the mentoring, the coaching to get through the initial roadblocks. I think that's why so many people are, going back to network marketing, are attracted to the network marketing industry, because that's what you have. You have a support system. So yeah, I think just surround yourself with people. I mean, if you have any concept of all of wanting to be an entrepreneur, go to a chamber event, find business owners, talk to them. You will find amazing people willing to just help you in every way possible.
Yeah, such great advice. And things as simple as, I mean, some people call them masterminds, it could be a simple Skype conversation with local business owners, either, in your community, but, I mean, today, we're connected by Skype, Portland, right. Oregon, Orlando, Florida, and we're able to talk about being LGBT entrepreneurs. So, finding your community, podcasts like this one, just learning from other fellow entrepreneurs that are navigating, all of the challenges of starting a business. And then also just figuring out, okay, another layer is like, how do I navigate being out in my business? And so find your people and keep them close, especially in those early days, because such valuable advice, people who've already kind of tested and changed. So kind of avoiding some of those inevitable hiccups that come up when you start your business. So thank you so much for your time and for inspiring fellow outbosses, Thommy. Can you share one way that we can stay in touch with you and learn more about your business?
Yeah, definitely. So right now, it's all about the Facebook group. So I have a Facebook group called the Side Hustle Lounge for network marketing professionals. And it's really easy way to get to it. It's just www.thesidehustlelounge.com.
Awesome. And we'll include that in the show notes. So definitely check out that community, the Side Hustle Lounge. And for Outbosses, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. It is always my privilege to connect with you and so many inspiring outbosses like Thommy. So as a next step, check out the show notes for highlights from today's conversation, subscribe to the podcast, and consider leaving a rating and review in iTunes. And for now, keep being your authentic selves 100% of the time.